So MetalistheLaw radio show on MetalistheLaw Radio in a partnership with Jan Vervaeke, YouTuber and MetaltoInfinity Metal webzine. Are honored to interview Ataraxie this evening. And I'm going to ask you please to introduce the band.
So Ataraxie is a French band based still in Rouen. That's been we were live since 2000, and of course, the lineup has changed since that time. Replaced the former guitar player Sylvain by two new guitar players since 2 years, 3 years now. I don't even remember.
It's already 5 years. It's already 5 years.
Yeah.
Yes. Time flies.
Time flies. And we just released our new album now, which is called Résigné. It was released in March on 3 different labels: Weird Truth from Japan, Xenocorp, and Deadlight Productions.
Yes. So we're basically a 19-year-old band from France in doom metal scenes. That means we're maybe the oldest one alive.
Cool. And what about the musicians? Could you introduce the musicians?
Okay, so myself, Fred. I've been joining the band in 2001. Jonathan?
I'm a former member. I do bass and do the vocals at the same time.
Yeah. And so we have also 3 other members. There is Pierre, which is also one of the founding members, the drums. And then we have the 2 youngsters, Julien and Hugo, that we knew for a long time before they applied for the band. And there are the new ones that joined the lineup in 2014. And so we wrote the last album with them. So this new album is the first album as a 5-piece band.
What can we expect from Ataraxie's concert tonight?
A bit of different shows than the one we are used to. For this album, first of all, that's the first time that we will play an album entirely. So we'll play the last album entirely. And also we have put some new visual elements to the show. So you will see there are lots of video projection behind the band and some images that goes well to the music. So I hope people will like it.
No, I think it sums well what we're going to do tonight.
Okay. So why did you start your career with a live album as your first album?
A live album? Oh, that's been a long time ago. I think it was more at that time. Remember that we were at the end of the 90s, at the beginning of the 2000s, and we wanted just to record something. So we used to record, from times to times, tracks live like that, and then we decided, okay. At that time, I had another band in parallel with Pierre, our drummer. It used to be called Yaningar, and we decided to do an album together, gathering 3 tracks, I think, and that's all. But I think it's not really for us significant release.
Yeah. It's more like an act of purse, more like just showing that. We were alive, and also it helped us get some gigs at the time, so that was mainly the purpose.
And how has been the feedback of the audience, fans, to the new album Résigné? Sorry, my Résigné. My French is no, it's not there. Sorry, so far.
I think it's beyond expectations, because I think we're a band which we do our things since the beginning. We don't really care about the hypes or whatever inside even the doom and the doom death genre. So we really keep on doing our stuff even now. And so let's say we never compose saying, okay, we want to compose an album like that, because we know that it will appeal to the people at the moment, because they will search for that kind of doom death. and surprisingly, it was quite, yeah, it was really amazing because a lot of people received well that album and understood, most of the people understood, its quintessence and really what we wanted to do. And regarding because I think we're a band, we have, of course, we have always done our best, to propose something new on each album. And on that album, we try to do again something else. And at the end, I think it's still an Ataraxie album, but still raw, really raw. I think compared to.
Yes, also being three guitarists that time added a bit of complexity to the melody lines, and it really flows. We spent quite a time playing all together until our interactions became fluent. And now I'd say the way we compose was taking in account this new way to interact between each other. What's also very surprising for this album that is we even had some reviews from some what would call mainstream press that and that was excellent.
We got from some reviews, for example, from Télérama, which is really big press, in France, and it's really focused, on culture. And even now, I think because I told earlier, we're a band definitely into metal, okay, and we have never done anything to go out from our metal roots. And now to see, for example, some good reviews, from magazines which are into more general culture, yeah, it's quite a reward at the end, because it means that outside the limit of our genre, we manage, to
touch people.
Yeah,
yes.
to touch people and propose something.
Yeah, that is very personal, and as Joe said, we always compose our music first for ourselves, and the recognition of the public is like what we call in France the cherry on the cake. I don't know if the expression exists somewhere else, and we feel blessed about that, very blessed.
And could you explain the band's name and who chose it? Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ataraxie. Ataraxie comes from an ancient Greek word that is ataraxia, means an absolute state of inner peace, and that's the goal of some philosophies like the Stoicians. And we thought it would fit very well with the music we wanted to do as a goal to achieve. And for us, the music is a real catharsis. So it's like a huge dose of darkness and negativity you can just let go through your body, and then you find the inner peace.
Really? Okay, now for both of you, sorry. Which are your different influences as musicians? And I mean, out of death metal.
Out of death metal in general?
Doom metal.
Doom metal. My favorite bands. I think my
influences.
My influences. I think that's my favorite bands as well. I think it's so. My influences there are bands like Candlemas, Trouble, Penance. Solitude Aeternus, Solstice. I'm mostly into epic doom. My favorite doom metal genre ever is epic doom metal, because that's really the genre that I enjoy the most. And of course doom death and extreme doom at the same time. That's why I also really love bands like Disembowelment, so Vervaeke, Tergoten, and many more, because that's why I think Ataraxie is a kind of mix between I think we have some kind of epic parts which to a certain extent can remind a little bit epic doom sometimes. There is some kind of epicness, but of course I'm not able to clean to sing in a clean way like Robert Lowe, from Solitude Aeternus. So I will never dare doing any clean vocals on Ataraxie.
So for myself, outside of doom metal, the man that made me start it all was James Hetfield from Metallica, let's say back in the early 90s. The guy that made me pick up a guitar and still my model as a rhythm guitar player. And of course I dig very, very much people like Tony Iommi. Of course he invented it all. And Jimmy Page also. Also guys from also my teenage years, like Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains is one of my favorite models about what he does on the guitar and all. And to a certain extent, I'd say someone like Brian May, the way he layers guitar is also a huge influence on me. So yeah, that's mainly those guys outside of the metal are my influences.
Yeah. Okay. And could you speak about the French doom scene?
I think the French doom scene when we started the band, it was really little. Of course, they were the first band who played that genre. Were bands like Northwinds, or Rising Dust, but the band they had before. And there were not so many bands at the time where we decided to found the band. Now what we have seen is that there are many more bands, and the genre itself is more varied than ever. For example, we can find in France, except in epic doom metal, because there are not so many bands in terms of epic doom metal. Even I think there are not any longer. No, not epic. I think now you can find doom death metal bands. You can find extreme doom. You can find even bands that everything with sludge, stoner, all these things. Are not my stuff, but at least we can admit that there are some bands representing this kind of subgenres of doom. So I think now the French doom scene is really rich. We have many different bands, many different subgenres, and they are really solid bands. It's not like because we have to agree that French metal has some difficulty to be exported outside our border, because in terms of metal, which are the bands which are not exported, there are maybe. What's the
famous French bands abroad?
Gojira. I think Gojira should be the only band. Gojira should be the only metal band outside of France which is really exported. Maybe now a little bit Alcest, I think.
Yes.
But that's all. I think all the other bands, because we had some extremely solid bands, in France, and let's say never managed to go over a frontier, or they are just considered like bands for the really die-hard fans of certain genres. Okay.
Yes. About the doom metal scene in general, I will. Yeah. Joe is right. That's it's like the French metal in general. It's very diverse. Of course, we have small scenes here and there in France. For instance, we have quite a famous black metal scene. But yes, it's so diverse. In fact, that for instance, we said before the interview, you will find soon in a compilation that will be out that is called Doom or Be Doomed, French tribute to Cathedral. You will find 12 bands. Everyone is different, and everyone covering Cathedral song is on way. And I think if people are curious about what is the French doom metal scene, they should check it.
Okay. And to finish our interview, so you could leave a message to the people who's watching or listening to you now.
What would you say?
For fans.
For the fans. For the fans, first, I'd say thank you, a huge thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Of
for
course.
your support over the years, because
Yes.
I think if we keep on doing interesting gigs and festival in general, that's also because of the fans, because people, come to attend to our gigs.
Yes.
That's a good thing for us as well, because we are not just a band that record albums and that's all, because there are some bands like that who are, that's, we are talking about French metal, for example. We have Death Pale Omega, which is really known in France, but they just record albums. But we are not a band like that. It means that for us, our live activity is really important. So having the opportunity to play live, having some people coming to our gigs, having the opportunity to exchange with them, having totally different discussions or whatever subject, it's a good thing, because at the end, music is an exchange between the people.
Yes. If I had to, I had an idea about a final word. It's lost in my mind. You can cut sometime. No, okay. I will. What would I say?